Somewhere over the rainbow, birds fly, fly over the rainbow.
Hello everybody, this is Ogre Boy, and I'm going to be joined by Big D from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews, and we're going to be doing our review of the 2019 movie Midsommar. So, in this movie, Danny and Christian, a couple, travel to Sweden to visit their friend's rural hometown for its fabled Midsommar festival. But what begins as an idyllic retreat quickly dissolves into increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. So, before I get into my part of the review, as always, I'm going to let Big D go first, so take it away, Big D.
Hey everyone, this is the Big D from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. Back again to collab with Ogre Boy, and this time it's going to be the 2019 folk horror flick known as Midsommar, written and directed by Ari Aster. First of all, I thought the story was pretty good and what have you. It focuses on a dysfunctional couple who travel to Sweden with a group of friends for a midsummer festival, only to find themselves in the clutches of a sinister cult. Now, I do like the performances of the cast, most notably Florence Pugh, which this was, of course, one of the films that got me introduced to her, aside from her other films like Fighting With My Family and the 2019 version of Little Women. Aside from Florence Pugh, I do like some of the performances from the other cast members, Jack Grainer, Will Poulter, William Jackson Harper. A lot of the others, they weren't too bad, but I think Florence Pugh really stole the show. Next, I do like the direction that Ari Aster, who had directed the film Hereditary a year before this, did for this film. I will say this was pretty good. Now, I also do like the setting for the film, that it took place in Sweden, and I've got to say, this was just incredible. A lot of the sayings around the festival looked real good. But I gotta tell you, this actually did have some really odd and strange moments and what have you. Just unlike what I've seen in films or films I would later see, most notably films that was done by the studio that gave us this film, A24. Also, I do know that the film's plot centered on a deteriorating relationship inspired by a difficult breakup which Aster himself had experienced. The soundtrack by Bobby Krilic, known as The Hacks and Cloak, wasn't too bad either. So from my point of view, I'd say Midsommar, it's pretty good and what have you. It kind of makes you feel like you're on some sort of an acid trip or something like that. But I will say, it's got it all. But nonetheless, it's still kind of odd, strange, but still pretty good and a bit colorful in a few parts too. So I think this is one film I would recommend. So like always, thanks for making me a part of this, Ogre Boy. Until next time, this is the Big D saying, see ya.
Thank you, Big D. It's great to have you on here again, and I gotta say, I really love this movie. I think that this is a really great movie, and it has a really great story that's captivating from start to finish and everything. Just from the first few moments, you know, she's having bad anxiety trying to get a hold of her sister, and then find out that her sister killed her parents, and then and I don't want to use triggers, but you know, did herself in, I'll just say that, everything, and so Danny is dealing with grief throughout the whole movie, and I think this movie has one of the best realistic portrayals of grief and everything. The way she's just like crying hysterically at the beginning of the movie and stuff. She just it's so realistic and everything, and everything. And I was going through grief and stuff when I saw this movie for the very first time too, because it came out just a couple months after my mom died. So this movie came out at a time when I was kind of going through similar things with her and everything. Of course, she had it way worse than I did and everything. Have you seen this movie? Although it's debatable by the end of it and everything. But I will say that I think the story is really great and everything, and the cast are excellent in here, especially Florence Pugh as Danny. I think she's just absolutely great, but I think the rest of the cast are too. Jack Redner as Christian is really good and everything, and you got a really great supporting cast. You got Will Porter and William Jackson and many others. Like, all of the supporting cast are great in this movie and everything. And I will say that the way Danny and Christian's relationship is written is really well written and everything. Like, you can tell that they're falling apart and growing apart. They both kind of want to break up with each other but don't know how to and everything. It's just really well written and everything, and it made it kind of realistic and everything and relatable if you've been in those kind of relationships. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful in this movie. I love that it's set during the daytime and stuff, where like Hereditary is like a really dark movie and stuff. This one is really light and colorful and stuff, even though it has dark themes, and a lot of really jacked up stuff goes on in this movie. So it's not really a light-hearted movie, but it's a bright movie because it's like set during the daytime and everything. And I thought that was pretty cool because you don't get a lot of daytime horror movies like this and everything. And I think Ari Aster's writing and directing is great. He's one of my favorite directors. I think he's actually my favorite out of the new directors working nowadays. I just loved his work on this movie and Hereditary and Beau is Afraid, but this one is my favorite movie of his. I've always just really loved this one. I don't know why, I just connected with this movie. Like I said, maybe it was because of what I was going through at the time and everything, but it's just a really, really great movie. And there are a lot of really insane scenes in this movie, especially the jumping scene when the characters jump off the cliff and everything, and you see how brutal it is, and the old man falls, but he doesn't die, and they have to smash his face in, and they use really great practical effects in those scenes and everything, and they're really effective and everything. And I think Ari Aster did a great job with that. And this movie is really, really weird and everything. Like, being set in a pagan cult and stuff, you kind of expect it to be weird, but I love the setting and the atmosphere of this movie. It has a dreadful sense of atmosphere throughout the whole movie and everything. Even just from the very beginning, there's just a sense of dread throughout the whole movie, and they did a really great job with that. And the ending was pretty good too. It's really wild and crazy. It ends up with Christian ends up cheating on Danny, and she becomes the May Queen and stuff, and she catches him and goes in kind of just loses her mind after losing her parents and witnessing all the stuff that she's had to witness at these festivities, and that was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. It just was too much and everything for her and everything. And she has this really intense crying scene where all these other women are crying along with her and stuff. It's really, really weird and stuff. And the whole scene is her crying is kind of mirroring him having sex with this girl, and all these women, naked older women, are there, and they're like making weird noises and stuff. It's very, very weird and everything. But I gotta say, it was crazy. And like the scenes where the characters take these drugs and stuff, or they get drugged by the cult and stuff, they did a really great. Ari Aster did a really great job at portraying what it's like being high and everything. I thought that was really cool too. Like there were parts in the movie where I felt like I was high and stuff, and I hadn't smoked anything. And this was before I started smoking weed or anything. So, but yeah, this was it was pretty crazy. It felt like had just ate an edible and stuff, and it had just kicked in at parts of the movie and everything. But and I love the slow burn feel of the movie. Like this movie is almost 2.5 hours, and it takes its time with the story and everything. But they do a really great job at like keeping, even though it's a slow burn, it keeps your interest and everything. And I was never bored with the movie at all, and everything. And not very many slow burn movies can do that, where I at least don't feel a little bit bored at some point and everything. But I've really grown to love slow burn movies because of watching this one and how much I love this one and everything. It kind of got me more into them. And the visual effects look really great here, especially in like I said, in the scene when the old couple jump off the cliff and stuff. The practical effects they used for their bodies and stuff just looked really good and everything. It was gruesome and really hard to look at because it was like really gross looking, but it was really well done and everything. It was effective and looked real. And the score for this movie is really good. I enjoyed the score in here too. I think it helps with the atmosphere of the movie and everything. But so all in all, I think this is a really great slow burn horror movie with great atmosphere and wonderful performance, especially from Florence Pugh and everything. Personally, I feel like this is her best movie out of all the ones that I've seen. I've seen most of her movies. I gotta say, this one was my favorite one for sure, and it was my introduction to her. But this was one great way of getting introduced to Florence Pugh, because this is just such a great performance. And just like with Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary, I feel like Florence Pugh should have gotten an Oscar nomination for this movie, because she was just absolutely amazing, and she wasn't even a household name yet. This movie catapulted her into stardom and stuff. I mean, she had been around for a few years and stuff, but this was the movie that really catapulted her into stardom, and I can completely see why, because she was just absolutely amazing in it. So once again, Big D, thank you very much for joining me on this video. And I'm going to give this movie an A+. I absolutely loved it. And everything. I've seen this movie multiple times, and it is a really great movie. Very entertaining and everything. You think that with being a slow burn, it would be hard. One of those that's kind of hard for me to watch and not want to watch it only watch it every now and then and stuff. But this is one that I can handle watching more often than some other horror movies and stuff. It's one that I just get a lot of I just really enjoy this movie. I don't know why. There's just something really about the weirdness and Ari Aster's directing and the performances, and just I love this movie. I think it's really well made. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of Midsommar, and thank you, Big D, for joining us and everything. And have a good day, everybody.